I am the Black Valorist. Thank you for tuning in. You know, Black Americans are survivalists and thrivalists. I appreciate you tuning in to the Black Valorist News Channel. Today, this is a reactionary video to some of the comments the defiant lawyer made. And I'm going to break this down. Hey, they're coming early, y'all. They are coming out early. Now, the defiant lawyer, he says that he is not a Democrat. He says he's not a Democrat. But on this video, he's going to talk like a Democrat. And he's going to ask us to take actions exclusively to vote for the Democrats. He's going to shame us because, well, he's going to shame black people who don't vote for Democrats. And, his statement is blacks not voting is self-destruction and black foolery. All right, we're going to get into it. But since he says he's not a Democrat, well, I want you to check it out at the end of the video or during the video. Let me know what you think, if you think he's a Democrat or not. Now, I'm going to talk some military strategy because I believe the preacher lawyer here is a DNC operator. That's what I believe. And so I'm going to talk in some military terms and analogy. Okay. People who go out ahead of the main military force for reconnaissance and scouting are generally referred to as scouts or reconnaissance or operators. More specifically, terms like point man or advance guard are also used to describe the leading element of a patrol or military formation. In this case, they are the advance man or guard or point man, and he is coming out before the main element, which is the politicians during the 2026 election. So the primary function of these individuals is to gather intelligence, assess threats, and secure the path for the main body of troops. In this case, it's going to be the DNC. It's going to be before the election year in 2026, and they are in spaces or they are trying to gather intelligence and assess threats, and so that they can secure the path for the main body. And the main body is the DNC. They may operate independently or part of a larger teams or platoons. Their methods can range from stealthy infiltration to forceful engagement with the enemy. Now, stealthy infiltration sounds interesting because the preacher lawyer says that he is not a Democrat. He might be trying to do some stealthy infiltration. He may think that we don't see what he's doing, and he is engaging with the enemy. Who do the DNC consider the enemy? Well, the ones that made him crash and burn, the ones who made the Democrats crash and burn during the 2024 election. You know, Kamala Harris was not successful because we did exactly what he thinks is foolery. We sat on the couch. But we're going to get into more in detail. Check out this next video.
Once again, there are forces out here that don't want you to vote in 2026. Isn't it just amazing, and doesn't it tell you something, that we African Americans are the only people in the country who are being told not to vote? Whites don't tell other whites that. Asians don't tell other Asians that. Latinos don't tell other Latinos that. Arabs don't tell other Arabs that. Pacific Islanders don't tell other Pacific Islanders don't vote. Only black people. Native Americans don't do it. Only black people. Only black people tell other black people, don't vote. Its goal is to take you back. But it's the same white supremacy. So even disillusionment is not a good reason to vote the couch. All right, then the next thing, disinformation. There are a lot of content creators, I call them pro-black imposters, who spend their whole day making video after video after video after video across all social media platforms, telling you in one way or another, don't vote. Don't vote. Don't vote. Don't vote. And here's what they say. They say, don't vote until the Democrats give you reparations. As if the Democrats are the ones who have opposed reparations. And as if the Democrats alone can give you reparations. Now, what they will do is they will tell you, without giving you any details, they will say to you, well, even when the Democrats have been in complete control of the government, they still didn't fight for reparations. Well, let me give you some more details. Even if the Democrats or the Republicans control the House and the Senate and the White House, that's still not enough to push forth your agenda. Because in the Senate, there is a rule called the filibuster rule, which means an opposing politician, if you're a Democrat, a Republican, can just stand there and give a speech for however long he wants to or she wants to, and just pretty much stop your agenda. And so in that case, you need 60 votes on your side to overcome or to stop that other senator from opposing your agenda. Joe Biden did not have 60 Democrat senators who could overcome a filibuster. Still, he did a lot for the African American community. The only one who had 60 Democratic senators, the only one, was Barack Obama. He had 60 senators and a huge lead in the House. So he had total control over the government. So why didn't he push for reparations? You want to know why? Because a lot of folks will say, well, that proves right there that they're not for reparations or they're not for black people, because Obama had 60 Democratic senators and he didn't push for reparations. Why didn't he? Well, here's what they don't tell you. Barack Obama had 60 Democratic senators for about a month and a half. For about a month and a half. He gained that 60 Democrat senator majority when Al Franken became a senator and was a Democrat. Right? There were a couple of independents who caucused with the Democrats. So it wasn't even 60 Democrats, but there were 60 who caucused with the Democrats. But it only lasted for like a month, for about a month and a half, approaching 2 months, until Senator Edward Kennedy passed. And then that dropped to 59. And now the GOP could stop whatever they tried to do. And you know how slow the Senate moves. They could not get a reparations bill passed in a month and a half. So they don't tell you that when they're telling you that the Democrats could have did this and that and the other. No, it's not true. The Democrats have been fighting for reparations since at least John Conyers introduced a bill decades ago. And it's been reintroduced every Congress, I believe. And besides, if you think about it for a minute, how is it helping us get reparations by helping the anti-black white supremacist party win elections and put judges on the federal bench, enact laws that are all anti-black, that are all anti-civil rights, that are all anti-reparations? How does that possibly help us get reparations? How does helping Trump win elections, how does that further reparations? It doesn't. It can't. That party is the party of the Confederacy. They will never, ever agree to reparations. So why are these people telling you this? That you shouldn't vote until the Democrats give you reparations? Because the Democrats alone have had one opportunity, and it was short-lived, to get reparations done. It's something that toxic for the GOP and huge for the country. Definitely need longer than a month and a half to get done. Come on, give me a break. Don't let folks pee on your leg and tell you that it's raining. All right? The next reason I think a good number of blacks tend to stay home and vote the couch is because of the way politicians, including Democrats, tend to disregard our community. In other words, they don't come around until they need our vote. I'm not, first of all, I'm not a Democrat. So I'm not sitting here saying the Democratic Party is perfect. I'm not saying that at all. The Democratic Party needs a lot of work. In fact, it's my position that what we should do instead of voting the couch we should take control of the Democratic Party by voting in overwhelming numbers so that we can get the people in place that we want in place. And also get that 60 Democratic majority in the Senate, win the House, put a Democrat in the presidency, and then have enough senators and enough time to push the reparations movement along. We'll never do that sitting home and voting the couch. Never. And I believe the folks who are telling you that know that. I believe they know that. We just got people who just simply support Trump and MAGA, black people, and they just don't want to say it. They just don't want to come out and say, yes, look, let me just be straight up. I want Trump to win. I am a conservative. I like his tax policies. I like whatever. Instead of doing that, they rather play games and be imposters, act like they're concerned about the black community because they can't be. I mean, the Trump administration, Project 2025, MAGA, these are all white supremacist movements, agendas, and people, as well as policies. They're not for us. So how do we deal with the disregard from the Democratic Party? We vote overwhelmingly for the Democrats so that we can take control of the Democratic Party. Because then they'll see, oh, these black people, they voted in overwhelming numbers, so we got to do what they say. We got to push the agenda that they want. Because clearly they are the largest voting bloc in the Democratic Party. We get what we want. We'll never get it sitting home and voting the couch. Never. That's just allowing Trump to put forth his Project 2025 white supremacist agenda, which is designed to do what again? Take us back. So, no, voting the couch is not the way to go. That's black foolery. It's black foolery to suggest it, and it's black foolery to follow that advice. Let's take over the party. Let's take over the Democratic Party and force them to do what we say. That's all. We take over the party. How do we do that? We do that when not 59.6% of us vote like we did in 2016, and about 61% voted this time in 2024. No, we do that when we vote upwards. About 85% of eligible black voters vote. About 85%. And for the Democratic Party. That way they will feel our muscle. And then we tell them, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. See, that's the situation Trump is in with MAGA. He bullies and intimidates the GOP because 85% of the GOP folks listen to him. They'll vote for whomever he says, so he can get his agenda through. That's what we have to do with the Democratic Party. Vote upwards of 85%. That means all of us voting, not 59.6%, but 85% and upwards of eligible black voters voting for the Democratic Party. And then they know that we run this piece. And they got to do what we say, just as GOP politicians have to do what Trump says. It's the same thing. Okay? So listen, folks. We got some time before there's midterms. But I'm putting this bug in your ear now because other folks are putting other bugs in your ear. I'm telling you, we cannot do that black foolery again. We got to do the very opposite.
Of mixed statements, misinformation. And I want to state this, and a lot of excuses. One of the excuses is when Obama was president and he had 60 senators, and some kind of way that, he only had those 60 senators for a month, and there's no way that, they could get that bill through, in a month. That's just an impossible task. He doesn't say that Barack Obama was president for 8 years. And he also jumped right to the Senate. Well, uh, John Connors, and he did mention that, introduced the bill in 1989 in the House of Representatives, okay? And that bill is H.R. 40. He skipped that. And so I have a little background information that I want to give you to clear all of that out, clear all of that up. But there was a lot of excuses. And, you know, our strategy, again, it worked. Sitting on the couch was a strategy that made the Democrats crash and burn. Let me say that again. The strategy of sitting on the couch made the Democrats crash and burn in 2024. Kamala Harris got defeated. Newsflash for the DNC. We are prepared in 2026, 2028, 2030, and 2032. If there's no anti-hate crime bill, no vote. If there's no reparations, no vote. And for you to tell us, even if they, what he calls, don't give us anything for our vote, no tangibles, they ignore us with benign neglect, still give them our vote. That is plantation Democrat thinking. Check out this short little video for some background information. Check this out.
Hey everyone, thanks for staying with us. Check this out. The preacher lawyer failed to mention this. The Black Vivalist News Channel will tell you the truth about the Democratic Party's benign neglect. The majority of Democrats don't support reparations. Newsflash. Today we're diving into a topic that has sparked a lot of conversation and debate: reparations for Black Americans who are descendants of freedmen. Specifically, we'll explore the history of the reparations bill, why it's still stuck in committee, and how this impacts voting among Black Americans, especially the youth. First, let's take a step back. The idea of reparations dates back to the end of the Civil War, but the modern movement really gained momentum in the 20th century. Fast forward to 1989, when Congressman John Conyers first introduced a bill to study and develop reparations proposals for Black Americans. Since then, the bill has been reintroduced in every Congress but has never made it out of committee. We must ask why this bill remains in committee. The Democrats had numerous opportunities when they were the majority and failed to send it to the floor for a vote. There is no legitimate excuses. As of now, the bill, known as H.R. 40, sits in the House Judiciary Committee. Despite overwhelming Democratic majorities in both houses at various times, the bill still hasn't been brought to the floor for a vote. The preacher lawyer, he dare not tell you about this benign neglect by the Democratic Party. This Democratic shill tell us to give Democrats power, but don't expect them to use that power to fight for tangibles, specifically for descendants of freedmen. 97% of Black Americans voted for Obama. The preacher lawyer says that's not enough voting power to make the Democrats address reparations. Many Black Americans, especially the youth, feel frustrated by this inaction. They believe that the failure to advance the bill reflects a lack of commitment from Democrats to truly address the issue of reparations. This inaction has real implications. Many young Black voters are feeling, disillusioned with the Democratic Party. They see the lack of progress on reparations as a sign that their concerns are not being prioritized. There's a growing sentiment that the majority of Democrats don't even support cash reparations, which is leading many to cut off their allegiance to the Democratic Party. Why is this important? The conversation around reparations is about acknowledging historical injustices and addressing the systemic inequalities that persist today. It's about having a national dialogue on race, equity, and justice. If we want to engage the youth and empower their voices, we need to see tangible actions like getting this bill out of committee and onto the floor. If there are no reparations, there should be no vote. Stand up for what matters. Make your voice heard. The Democratic talking points of trying to shame Black Americans didn't work in the 2024 presidential election. Is the reason why Kamala Harris and the Democrats lost severely because of not standing on reparations business? We, the Black American grassroots, are prepared to let the Democrats crash and burn in 2026 and 2028 for both congressional races and the presidential election. Warning to the Democrats and their shills, if the Democrats want power at the federal level again, they must provide tangibles to foundational Black Americans. We need actions, not empty speeches. The Black American grassroots will deny the Democrats power by not voting for the Democratic presidential nominee in 2028. The presidential nominee must campaign publicly for reparations. The recent polls indicate the Democrats' approval ratings is at an all-time low. If the Democrats ignore the Black grassroots demands again in 2026 and 2028, it will be to their demise. Let your Democratic representatives know. The Black grassroots see Democrats support trillions of dollars spent on forever wars, illegal immigration, aid to Israel, but nothing for the descendants of freedmen. The United States government owes a debt to the descendants of freedmen. This must be a priority. No reparations, no vote.
Thank you for tuning in, staying here with me. I really appreciate your time. Right now, though, I would want to ask you to hit that notification bell and subscribe and like. A lot of my subscribers are really not getting notified when these new videos come out. This is the data that I have been receiving. Now, in conclusion, I'm going to wrap all of this up. Strategy. We're going to talk about strategy, and we're also going to talk about the preacher, the lawyer preacher lawyer. He is the reason, or let me say this. Shields, Democratic shields, like this defiant lawyer, well, this is the reason why Black Americans is stuck on the Democratic plantation. He's the reason. He's on that plantation, and he's trying to get all of us to come back on the plantation with him. Can you believe that? And then he wants to shame us. He's talking about blacks not voting. It's like self-destruction, and it's black foolery. And that foolery shut down the Democratic Party. That was strategic. You know what there? strategy plan is? This is what their strategy plan is. He's saying, y'all, get off the couch and run down here yonder to the blue Democratic plantation. That's what he's saying. That's his strategy. Man, this ops. And then he says, check this out, not voting or voting for the GOP is self-destructive. Now look, I've always said, you can check out all my videos. I've never supported Black Americans voting for the Republican Party, but I understand that may be a protest vote. And after 70 years of voting for the Democratic Party and getting absolutely no tangibles, I can understand their frustration. I can understand it. But what he doesn't tell you is that we've been voting for the Democratic Party. We've been voting 97%. We are the most loyal base to the Democratic Party. He ignores all of that. He ignores all of that. In fact, he said, even if the Democratic Party ignores us, disrespects us, still jump on the Democratic plantation. And with that, I'm the Black Violence. I tell it like it is. Rev lawyer is. He's got his mind brainwashed, and he wants us to be brainwashed. We free thinkers. We are free thinkers, and we're not coming back on that blue plantation unless they are giving tangibles. Shout out to all of the Black Americans who sat on the couch. Shout out to y'all.